I want to be remembered as the girl that just goes for it. That would be, for me, the greatest achievement.
From an internship at Stella McCartney to her current role as luxury director at the Wall Street Journal, Agnes Majewska has built a life and career many would only ever dream of. Fluent in 3 languages and having lived and worked in Milan, London, and New York, her career seems full of risk and reinvention. In reality, it's been strategic and steady.
Being an ambitious person, there's always this voice inside of your head that's like, are you too cautious? Are you too kind? I don't regret making more drastic changes, but I think I'm like getting to a point now where I'm like, okay, I can evolve into like the next version of me.
In today's episode, we explore the tension so many high achievers face between striving for more and being present with the success they've already achieved, and why Agnes believes that regret can be more haunting than failure.
I do definitely envy those people who have like a big failure story. People get stagnant. Getting too comfortable or enjoying that comfort too much is a huge red flag if you're trying to make progress and move on to the next step of your career.
Agnes, welcome to Fail Up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Such a pleasure.
I so appreciate it. We're doing this on a Friday, so we're all very excited to like wind down. Do you have plans for the weekend?
I have a rare New York City weekend before I head off somewhere to the West Coast next weekend.
Where are you going?
I'm going actually to a festival, a music festival in California next weekend. It's supposed to be 104 degrees Celsius.
Oh, shit. No, not Celsius.
Oh, sorry. Fuck. I still operate in Celsius. And
Me too.
I have to translate it for
Wait, so what's the Celsius going to be? It's in the
40.
40s. In the 40.
It's supposed to be 40.
What's the festival?
It's called Lightning in a Bottle. It's
never
like
heard
a
of
low-key... It's like Coachella meets Burning Man, supposedly.
Interesting. Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
It's like music, art.
Yeah.
Lots of things.
Exactly.
Where is it? In the desert?
It's in the desert. Yeah. Somewhere outside of Bakersfield. It's supposed
They
to
have
be.
like so many. I mean, they've just had Coachella, and then what's the one? There's one after Coachella.
Not Burning Man?
No, it's also in the desert, and there's like, and then this one. They're all in such close succession. Have you ever been to Coachella or Burning Man?
I've never been to a U.S. festival.
Oh.
I feel like my festival days are kind of long behind me. I left them in Europe.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun.
Yeah, but I'm ready for this. It's a bachelorette, so I will do it.
Oh, it's a bachelorette.
I will do it.
You have to.
I will love it. Yeah.
Wow. So what's the itinerary? Give us the bachelorette itinerary.
It's literally go to festival, camp in vans and cars.
Wow.
Spend 3 days raving in the desert at festival, and then fly back to New York City. It's Memorial Day weekend, so I have an extra day.
Weekend, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so you're camping on the festival grounds?
Correct.
How many of you are there?
There's like 6 of us.
Oh, that's good. I thought you were going to say like 13. And
No.
Oh, this is going to be crazy. Okay.
No, it's like a low-key, closest group.
I'm really excited to also like get to know you a little bit better for everyone to get to know you a little bit better on the podcast. Agnes and I met just through the industry. As I said in my intro, I've been trying to poach Agnes for a really long time. She's just like, you're a hard one. You're just playing hard to get. I feel like my podcast or my business will be successful at the point where I can hire you.
That would be amazing.
It's I'm such a long time off that, but one day if I can ever afford you, I will bring you over.
Thank you, Alana.
Help us get to know you as well, just, as you have such an interesting story, even just from an adult life kind of moving around the world. But let's maybe start kind of baby Agnes. Yeah. Where'd you grow up? What were you like as a kid?
So I grew up in Warsaw, Poland. I went to an international school. I was the youngest of 3. I have an older brother and an older sister. So I was always sort of like the little one that was trying to impress my parents and impress my older sister and impress my older brother. And I was just really outgoing and kind of out there, put myself out there. And my parents figured out quite quickly that I was kind of like that. So they would use me as like the one who would like go ask for directions or like go ask the hotel concierge to like do the thing or ask for an upgrade or like
when your food comes and it's not what you ordered and someone has to tell the restaurant they're not happy with the food. Like you need that person on the team.
I was like the small cute one with the bowl cut.
I can see it.
Who would just like sweetly figure out really early on how to like get anything I wanted. And I was thinking about this recently because I think it kind of it's what made me both really like easy to, I can communicate with people and I can kind of get myself out of any situation, but I'm also kind of a people pleaser because of that, because I was trying to please my family growing up. So yeah, I kind of grew up in this bubble in Warsaw where I was going to this international school, and I was sort of like the odd Polish kid out, and grew up speaking 2 languages at home. And
what did you speak at home?
I spoke Polish with my family, but quite quickly, because me and my siblings went to an international school, we just kind of would switch to English all the time.
What's the third language?
It's Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I thought it might have been French or Italian. And you're like completely fluent in all 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you switch in between them? Like,
yeah.
When are you speaking which one?
So I speak English, obviously, at work and most of the time. I speak Polish with my family. And then I speak Italian with some of my clients, which is nice.
Oh, really?
'Cause,
yeah, of course, the fashion houses.
Yeah. I lived there for 9 years. Studied in English, but had Italian boyfriends, picked it up, figured it out.
Amazing.
And then all my jobs in Italy were actually in Italian. So I had to like pick up business Italian pretty quickly.
So talk us through the arc of your kind of in Poland as a young Agnes, kind of sending the food back at a restaurant, and then where did you go?
So when it came time to make a university decision, most of my friends were either going to the US or to the UK because it was the obvious choice. And I kind of didn't want to do that because I already spoke English. What was the point of going to a country where I could like, know the language? So I remember actually I had a conversation with my grandfather, who I was like idolized, and he was very worldly because he had been like a captain of, an airline. And I was like, where should I go to university? Where should I live? And he was like, you should definitely go to Italy. That'll be really good for you. And I just
Amazing
said,
advice.
okay, sure, I'll do that. I trusted that. And I picked a business school in Milan called Bocconi, and no one else I knew was going to that university, so I was just completely
good for you
on my own. Yeah, I went there. It was a little scary, but also so invigorating to just completely start something from like zero.
And how old were you when you did this?
I was actually 17. I hadn't turned 18
What?
yet.
You were 17?
Yeah.
So you left home at 17 and moved to a foreign country?
Yes.
Holy shit. What was that experience like?
It's funny because I always talk to like my partner, American friends about this, and they all like went to a campus and lived in a bubble for 4 more years. I did not have that experience. I was like thrown into the city. There's no campus. You didn't have to go to class. It was like you only had to take a test at the end of the semester to pass the class.
You do or you don't?
You do, but you don't have to go to any of the classes or do any classwork or do anything, like any teamwork. So you're just sort of left to like grow up immediately, like sink or swim. I definitely had some sinking going on the first few years.
What was the sinking?
I failed my math exam 7 times.
7 times?
Yeah.
How did you get through the 8th time?
I studied for it, actually.
I went to class. Revolutionary.
So after that, I decided to do my master's. So I stayed at Bocconi, did a master's, which is like essentially kind of a 2-year MBA program, which is like all hands-on coursework with CEOs and CMOs, not really with professors. And then after that, I got an internship at Stella McCartney. So
Amazing.
My first job was marketing and PR.
Which city were you
in? Milan.
In Milan, yeah.
Yeah, and it was in a showroom, working on their like store openings, events, fashion show in Paris, but mostly working with magazines to get the products placed.
Wow.
So it was the first time I understood or saw that these collections kept coming out multiple times a year. They were all just kind of like exposed in the showroom, and our job was to like flip through the magazine the coming month and just to see how many times the products got placed in the editorial fashion shoots.
What was she like to work for?
I didn't get that high up in the food chain. But
you're an interning for her?
I was an intern.
Yeah, but because that would have been...
She wasn't
her
always
brand was like rising at that point, right?
She was part of Caring at that point, so we were like part of the bigger group. But I worked...
She just bought her brand back, right?
Yeah.
I think she just bought it back off Caring.
Yeah,
Good for her.
Yeah. But I had a boss who was very like Devil Wears Prada and just kind of really hard on the interns, and
it's the worst.
Made me cry every single day at lunch. Yeah, I would leave.
What was she doing?
She was just abusive and like do this for me, do that for me, just being really rude. Like would give us silent treatment if she didn't like what we were wearing, and like not talk to us, and just emotionally abusive.
Yeah, they're the worst. The emotional abusive is like that's the worst. It was
Yeah.
like the passive aggressive. I prefer someone scream at me than like be passive aggressive.
She would also scream,
I should
but
also
she would
scream
do
a little.
both. I hated that. But looking back now, I'm like, oh, thank God I got to be on the other side of luxury
Right.
at some point in my life, because I really understand like the struggle that smaller brands, especially without like big media budgets, have to go through to like get themselves out there. But after that, I was like, I will never work in a fashion company
Wow.
again.
Wow. Okay. So what happens after Stella McCartney?
After Stella McCartney, I went to work for a social media marketing agency.
Okay.
And I was actually hired because I spoke fluent English, and they needed somebody. It was like
In
the
Milan
FIFA,
still?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Milan still. And it was like FIFA, Euro Cup, or World Cup. I can't remember. And they needed somebody who spoke fluent English to write the copy for all the like FIFA social media posts. So I was like just doing that for like a summer.
Wow.
And the creative directors would pull us into meetings sometimes and just like ask our opinions, just because we were like, you know, outside perspectives on pitches and decks and meetings and stuff. And once I got pulled into this meeting about a Jack Daniels branded content documentary pitch, and they were doing a music documentary in Nashville for Jack Daniels.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, you mean a brand is paying for like real content about musicians touring and going like...
Because when was this? This would have been like pretty in the earlier days of like branded content.
Yeah, this was like 2014, 15.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was the
big
first
deal
time
then.
I really understood like that they were doing this. And I asked them like, where is this going to go live if it does? Like, what channel are you guys doing this for? And they're like, oh, we're doing this for the Discovery Channel in Italy. And I was like, whoa, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
So I
You're like, I want that job.
went back to my desk, Googled Discovery careers, and there was a branded content coordinator position open that they were hiring for. And I applied for it.
Oh my God, what a turning point. That's such a
I
sliding
got the
doors
job.
moment.
Yeah, it was wild.
Wow, amazing. And then like, when do you make the decision to come to New York, and what inspired that move?
So New York was quite a few years later in my career. I went to London in between that to work for the
Okay,
Journal
yeah.
first. And then it was the pandemic. It was 2021. Offices were closed. I was actually considering moving to Spain.
Love Spain.
I
I,
was-
would live in Spain.
I was in Spain. I was actually with my mom. And the plan was to like buy an apartment in Spain and live there, and then fly to London if the London office ever opened again. I was like, this is a whole new world. I like don't
Because
need
you're
to be
working
in a
for the
city.
Journal already.
I'm working
Yeah.
for the Journal in London. London is like a miserable place to be at the time. And I found an apartment, and I was like, this is going to be where I'm going to live. Like, who knows what my life is going to be
Where'd
like.
you live in London?
I lived in East London in Hackney.
Of course.
Yeah.
So nice.
So yeah, and then a position opened up in New York, and one of my mentors at the Journal was like, do you want this job for like taking up on luxury accounts in New York City? And I had to think about it for like a split second. I had not even a split second, for like a solid day. I was like, this is the part where I now like, if I take this job, I'm going to be like a full like sales girl. And they were like, you know, luxury at the Journal, obviously, as you know, is a lot of print. Like a lot of these advertisers are still very like heavily print investors. And I was like, do I want to go down that path?
Right.
Or do I want to go down the path of like brand partnerships on like a wider scale?
I wanted to do your like Jack Daniels documentary in Nashville,
Exactly.
but for like cardio.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, maybe there's hope that everyone always says, which is, I always say it too, but like the job is what you make it. Like in the end, you're in control of the clients and of their budgets, and you can like help shape the way into the future for them.
So you found yourself in New York.
Yeah, it was post-COVID. It was 2023 exactly. So I took the role in 2021, moved to California because the offices here were closed. Everything was still shut down. So I was like, I'll make a sneaky little stint in California.
Yeah.
Which was great. And then I moved here in 2023, and yeah, definitely, you know, some expectations and reality adjustments had to be
What
made.
were they?
I mean, New York is such a wonderful place to visit for a week, or, you know, to see friends when you're like staying in glamorous apartments in Tribeca or, you know, in Williamsburg. And then
It's not real life.
It's not real life.
What was the biggest culture shock for you?
I think actually work was the biggest
Really?
culture shock for me.
In what way?
Yeah. So coming from the London team, and then before that from workplace in Milan, people are just, there's like camaraderie. There's like real trust and camaraderie, and you go out for a pint and you're like friends with your colleagues. And I've always worked for kind of smaller teams or for companies that were growing or like a satellite office. But here it was like just thrown into this huge corporate culture. And everyone kind of looks out for themselves. You have to have your own back. No one's got your back.
It's very competitive here.
It's very competitive.
I found that too.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty to that as well because it's motivating and it pushes you. But I found that too. It's very, it's very, everyone's kind of out for themselves. It's very individualistic. And I think it's probably the European or Australian sensibility. They're much more egalitarian cultures where it's all about the collective good. And, like, that's how you succeed if all ships rise.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's the opposite. And I think both places could take a little bit from each other. I think sometimes things can be too egalitarian, do you know what I mean? And then people kind of get lost within that as well.
Yeah.
What did this, I mean, I'm curious about what this move to New York, but also all these other moves that you're making. What have these moves revealed to you about yourself over time?
Yeah. It's addictive once you start moving and starting somewhere from scratch. Yeah. Like, I do envy people who build a network of people that they've known since like high school through college and then through all their jobs, and they have them all in one city. That's, I think, extremely powerful. My network is like all over the world, so it's great. Sometimes it's like fragmented, but I get like kind of, it's such a high to like pick a new place and start everything.
What's the high for you?
It's just like the unknown and like being given, like, you have to like figure out the city, figure out the job, figure out the connections, find an apartment. Like, it's essentially kind of like having to like win the challenge of setting up a new life in a new place. And the learning curve has to be like really steep.
Yeah.
And you just sort of, it's kind of just like a race against time to get like the best possible situation in a new city. Why do we do this to ourselves? I don't know.
Is it like, for me, I draw a lot of inspiration from like the new.
Yeah.
So I love putting myself in new situations and new challenges. So for me, the moving, even though I hate personal admin more than life itself, and I feel like I am still closing out personal admin from like 3 moves ago. Like, it never ends. It never ends. So I wish that was not there. But everything else about the moving, I also, I love it. It's like you're meeting different people. Every move reveals something new about yourself that you would never have discovered if you stayed in the same place.
Yeah, and it's like a retransformation of your own story.
Yeah, and constantly digging. It's like, you're just constantly excavating these different parts of yourself.
Yeah.
What's the drawbacks, though? There's definitely some.
I think the biggest is the like constant network and like the safety of, having long-term friends or family in a place. Also, like, it's kind of a high that runs out after some time, and then you're kind of back to feeling the way you felt in London and in Milan after a few years.
Yeah, you can be happy anywhere, you can be sad anywhere.
Exactly. And then you're just sort of itching for like change again. Yeah. So you just get hooked on like change and constant transformation, and sometimes I worry that I'm always going to be like searching for that now because I've like set myself on that path. But I also know many people who haven't really ever moved anywhere, and they come to me for advice, and they're like, oh, what do you think if I like transfer to like a new country? Like, how would I love it? And I'm like, you will absolutely love it. You just kind of have to push yourself and do it because you're very stable and comfortable where you are. So,
but you also have a lot of stable relationships in your life. You've got a long-term partner, and it's not like everything's kind of always in flux.
That's true. I kind of balance out the different things in my life, and I've definitely become like steadier and less spontaneous as
we get older.
I've gotten older.
Yeah. I think the international network is such a plus. Like, I hear what you're saying. For me, there is like a stability that I crave that I'm only just starting in the last couple of years now, I think, to really establish that it was hard to have when you're flinging around and you're not in your hometown. But the network, I've actually loved that. I'm the same. My people are everywhere, and I love it because, again, it's like each relationship almost kind of allows you to step into this slightly different version of yourself
and your past.
And slightly different version of your past. And like, I found that really refreshing and helpful. And it just keeps you, I don't know, it keeps your perspective on the world a little broader as well when you're just surrounding yourself with different people, different perspectives.
Yeah, and New York, unlike other places where I've been where I get asked immediately, like, where I'm from, or like, oh, you're Polish, why is your English so good? And questions that I got like that all the time in Europe. I just don't get those questions in New York because everyone is so international and everyone's an outsider and everyone has such a complicated story of moving around.
Yeah.
So
everyone's running from something.
Exactly. Or running towards something. Yeah. And I've met probably, you know, made like very intense friendships with people who just get it immediately, and I don't really have to like kind of compromise on like my worldview. I just sort of like, they get it because they've been there, and this is also their like fourth home or something. Yeah.
So kind of continuing on with this thread around like living in all these different places, but you know, you're also building a career in a place that is not your own.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that has shaped like your leadership style and the leader you have become.
Yeah. So I think I realized a lot when I started my job at Discovery in Italy, because it was like the first real serious job I had with real responsibilities. I was obviously working in like my third language. I had to like pick up business Italian and like write emails and take meetings. And I was like 24 years old. I was foreign. I was a woman. There's no chat GPT. I have to learn quickly. And I'm taking meetings with like, you know, men twice my age who are like, you know, what's going on here? Who's this girl? And like, what is she talking about?
Little Agnes in broken Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
Not little Agnes. You're
looking back
grown
now,
woman by that point.
I felt like a grown woman. Yeah. And I definitely had imposter syndrome, but I also just like, I was like, but I work for this big company and they need something from this company. And I happen to be the representative of this company. So I'm just going to use that as like the leverage that I need to like, you know, just have like a poker face in all of these situations and just like get through all of these conversations and meetings and negotiations. And I remember I was once in a meeting and we were working on a production of something, and it was me and it was the producer. And the producer was like, had been at Discovery for a while. She was also a little bit like, who's this girl and why did she get this job? And she was trying to give me a hard time and trying to make me look stupid in front of my clients.
The worst.
And I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit really quiet until I have something really of value to add to this conversation. And I'm going to make her look really good. And I'm actually going to swoop in and save her when she needs saving in this meeting. And I did that. And she was so grateful for that without obviously ever saying anything. And I just earned her respect by just not trying to prove anything that I wasn't, but just showing that I was going to be like a team player and supportive. And I think that taught me to always do that moving forward, because like being a brand partnerships person, you have to win over a lot of internal people and external people, obviously, and you just need to be like a really good ally. And when people ask me like, oh, how do you manage to like get these like more complicated coordinate these things internally, I just like make everyone else around me feel and look really good so that they feel like excited about what the project is, and then they just like are more of a pleasure to work with.
It's like it's like the epitome of soft power.
I'm very soft also.
But that's a strength, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's also just making me think of, that's, you know, little Agnes figuring out everything for your family and making everyone else feel comfortable around you, you know, and putting everyone's needs ahead of your own.
Yeah, it's like how to be a people pleaser but use it like to your advantage.
Yeah. When has being a people pleaser backfired for you?
I mean, I think I sometimes don't, especially in the US work culture of kind of everyone for themselves and having to like push and like, you know, stand up for yourself, but also like talk about your wins in like the loudest way possible. I think I'm not so good at that. So I think that's to my detriment enough. I've been lucky enough where people are like, I see your value, I've seen you in action, you don't need to like
prove yourself.
But
are you finding you're always making sure everyone else gets the credit, talking everyone else up? Okay, yeah. I was a little bit like that. I'm less like that now. It's funny. I think maybe just because I have my own business and it is just me, right? And but also I have to. But for years I was like that too. It would always be in the background.
Yeah.
And like lifting everyone else up around me, even kind of on a public stage. And it's funny, I look back on it now and I'm like, I wish that I had built up my own credibility and personal brand throughout all those
But you did
years.
at the same time.
Yeah, you do. That's true. You do indirectly.
You did by being that person
by being that
who
person, yeah.
like has empathy and actually has care and people actually trust and want to work with.
Yeah.
In the long run,
yeah,
I think
true.
it works out. It's in the short run that it makes me feel a little weak and it makes me question, like, am I being too kind and too generous and maybe like stupid to be this way versus watching other people be like kind of obnoxious and salesy. In the end, I do work in sales, so.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting layer to you too. It's true because you're in a field of like a line of work that does generally, for the most part, I think that's also why I was so drawn to you as well of like, okay, this is someone who's in this role, in a sales role that is, just not so boisterous, you know, just a completely different leadership style, not as dominant.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are now going to transition into the second half of the conversation. We're going to get into kind of, obviously today's topic is talking about failure and how we navigate failure and how we kind of bounce back from those moments. I'm asking everyone the same question, which has been super fascinating to start to even see the common themes of the answer. But how do you think about failure? How do you define failure?
So for me, failure is not putting yourself out there enough to like take a leap of faith or a risk or, you know, just put yourself in motion to move forward. Like, I think failure for me is standing still and not
love that
being on whatever is the next step of the journey. It's almost like once you have all the tools that you need to progress in your life, like go on to the next level, not progressing for me is failure.
Where do you think that comes from?
I actually know exactly where it comes from. When I was a kid, I played tennis, and I played tennis in a tennis center where there was WTA tennis tournament every year. And I was like middle school, and my coach asked me to be a ball girl. He was like, you have to like, you can try out, but you'll be able to like be a ball girl at this tournament, which is like a dream of every kid who plays tennis, to like pass the ball to Serena Williams, right? And I went to these tryouts. Like, my mom got me out of school for the week. I was like ready to go, and I got there, and there was like a bunch of like mean Polish girls who like kind of gave me like a mean look because I don't know, whatever, I was dressed weird or my hair was weird or something. And I chickened out. Yeah, I backed out. I told my mom I didn't want to try. And I don't think my mom gave me a hard time about it. I think she respected my decision. I think she tried to push me a little bit.
How old were you?
I was like 11 or 12. And I think about it all the time.
Wow. And what did that teach you? What did that tell you, maybe? Better question.
I don't even know what would have happened. Like, I didn't even let myself fail, as in not get selected, because I just took myself out of the running. And it weighed on me so much. I have so much guilt towards myself and regret that happened to me. And I just vowed to never do that again. Like, I'd rather go in and like lose the tennis tournament or like not get the job or fuck up however I need to than just be like, I'm tapping out.
Yeah. What was like, talk us through the next day. I mean, you make the decision, you're like, I'm not doing it. And the next day you wake up, like, talk us through that day.
I think I tried to rationalize it. I think I tried to like talk myself out of it. I think I tried to be like, oh, but I would have missed school, and like, oh, it wouldn't have been that fun. And like, I think I was also worried that like some of my schoolmates were going to be in the audience of the tournament, like watching the tournament, and they were going to see me as the ball kid, and they were kind of going to like make, I found whatever reasons to cling on to sort of like be defensive about it.
And what was the real reason?
I was just scared. I was just a coward.
What were you scared of?
I was just scared of the complete unknown, new, novel situation of putting myself in the running for like, essentially, it was like a tryout, so I had to like.
What was scary about that for you? Like, what? I mean, you were worried about the unknown, but what was it about the unknown that was scary?
I think I was scared of being scrutinized by the other kids, by the peers.
Okay.
And just not being good enough. But I'll never know. I would have probably been good enough. I probably would have been just fine and great and would have loved it and would have wanted to be a ball kid for whatever, how many more years. And I think it really messed me up. And I remember a few months later, my mom picked me up from school, and she goes, I signed you up for a tennis tournament today after school. And I was so mad at her because I was like re-triggered immediately. Like, no, I will not put myself out there for something like this. And then I ended up winning the tournament.
Are you playing?
Yeah. playing tennis. And I was so grateful to her for doing that to me. And sports are so, like, the equivalent of, like, all
when
the
you're
stresses when you're a kid.
Yeah. And that's where it's true. That's probably where you learn so much about failure and success in that when you're that age. So, yeah. Wow. I mean, what did that moment kind of teach you about failure?
I was never going to do that again. I mean, I just knew then that whatever was going to happen, I was going to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I think that's where the, like, moving and the going and the trying has always come up because
I was about to say it's so fascinating hearing this story, but yet we've just been talking at the start around, like, how adventurous you are and how open to risks you are, and you're moving around, but maybe you doubled down on that to almost prove to yourself that you could do it.
The feeling I had the next day of having given up and backed out and not put myself in the running was horrible. It was horrible. It was the worst kind of disappointment with myself I could have had.
The self-disappointment's the worst, isn't it?
You really can't escape it.
You can't escape it.
I'd so much rather fail in the classic sense of the term, like, you know, put myself out there and then, like, slip and fall and hit my forehead. At least I tried. Like, I failed in more standard definition of the term, but just to, like, not know is humiliating.
Yeah, especially when, you know, it's at the core of it is kind of being worried about what other people are going to think. And actually, they probably didn't even know that you pulled out because of that. They would have never thought about this moment again. And yet it's been this kind of defining moment of your life.
Yeah.
My next question is kind of these cultural differences. How have you noticed, obviously you've lived all around the world, lived and worked all around the world. Have you noticed any cultural differences between kind of how the Europeans and the Americans look at failure?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's much more anxiety around failure in the US.
Really?
In general. Yeah. Because there's so much more pressure to succeed. So with more pressure to succeed, there's way more anxiety to fail. And everyone's kind of thinking about it in, like, binary terms the whole time.
That's true.
And I think it does go back to the teamwork and the individual work. Like, in Europe, I was usually operating as part of a team. And we thought ourselves as, like, a cluster or a task force for whatever we were doing. So failure was never an individual thing. It was sort of like a team thing. And so there's not that you don't fall from that high up. If you're kind of falling as a team, you just sort of, like, you've got each other's back. Whereas here, there's just so much, like, everyone sets the bar so high. Everyone, like, talks themselves up so much that then what usually happens is people fail and then they just, like, don't talk about it and pretend that never happened. And then there's just silence and no one, but if you don't, you know, instead, if you just sort of, like, don't promise the world and then just achieve it, you're not gonna fail. You're
it's like a quiet confidence.
Yeah.
That's definitely the vibe I get from you, for sure. This is so interesting. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. And there's no right or wrong way. It's just different perspectives on it. Because I have found, while I agree with kind of the pressure to achieve and kind of people having really high standards, I have found that Americans embrace failure. There's a little bit of, I mean, look at even Silicon Valley, right? It's built on, like, fail fast, fail often type mentality. I do think Americans love a rags to riches story, and that's usually some failures, some adversity, maybe adversity I feel like is really embraced as, like, a strength. Yeah, I found they actually kind of embrace it and are willing to talk about it because they kind of see it as not everyone, though, not everyone.
Yeah, but don't you think they also they're only willing to talk about it once they've achieved success?
Yes, that is critical.
So failure is the stepping stone of their success, so it's still been spun as a really good story.
I see what you're saying. But 1,000% agree with that.
In the day-to-day, when you are working towards many, many little things, and you have to report into a CEO or you have to perform in front of a client, I think people tend to sort of be very hard on themselves.
Yeah, it's true. Like, in the moment, there's not a lot of accountability. It's so true. But then it's the look back.
Yeah, the look back is great.
Back, and it's the
interview story is
the interview
fantastic.
story. Yeah, they're very good at that.
Very good at that.
Yeah, I mean, which is in so many ways the premise of this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I have found, even with talking to people to come on, if people are in the failure or maybe even in a just not even in a failure, but in like a tough situation that they're not sure how it's going to pan out yet, they're not coming on.
Totally.
And it's not the right, it's not the right, I wouldn't come on either, right? It's like I've had moments in my career, it's like I'm not going to come on in COVID talking about like how hard, it's like you need time to process that and think about, the story you want to tell even yourself. Because I have found that when you're in it, you're telling yourself quite a negative story.
Yeah.
And then when you have space from it, you're able to tell yourself more. You find the learnings and you find the growth.
Yeah.
What do you think both of these cultures can learn from each other in terms of how they look at failure?
I think Americans being higher achievers do in the end tend to achieve more. I mean,
because they push themselves further.
Yeah, they push themselves further. There's more competition amongst each other.
But achieve more in what sense as well? It's like...
Yeah, that's true.
It depends what your goals are. Like I have found, Europe and Australia are probably similar sensibilities where success there is living a more holistic life. Like that's success. Whereas success here, I have found in New York especially, I mean, it's your career plays a really outsized role in that total success. It's almost like, your career, if you can get your career's thriving 80%, you've got 20% of the other stuff, like you're doing well. Whereas I feel like in Australia, it's, success is having an incredible career, but also getting off on time to like pick up your kids and go surfing and go out, get home and make dinner and go to bed at a reasonable hour and get up at 5 and go for a run. Like that's success. That's a successful life.
And that I feel is more prevalent here. Or it's the more modern way of thinking about it in the US, maybe since the pandemic. But
that's true. It has changed a lot post-pandemic. But I don't know. I could never find a version of that life here. That's why I had to eventually leave. So maybe it exists. But for me personally, I couldn't find that life here. Yeah. Have you found that life?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I am careful.
You're pretty balanced,
about my work-life balance.
Yeah. But
I just also think you kind of need the right environment to do it. You need like some nature and, some kind of outlet to be able to do it. Frolic log.
You need frolic log.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about a time where you felt in over your head in a work perspective and just kind of how you navigated that self-doubt?
Yeah. I mean, I felt probably in over my head for like the first 5 or 8 years of my career.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
still. I mean, yeah.
And I actually think that if I don't feel in over my head, there's kind of probably something wrong. Because if I feel in over my head during a meeting or with a client or with a new task or with a stretch role, I'm going to end up learning from it.
Totally.
So...
It's like back to you moving around, you want to be pushing yourself.
Yeah, you just want to feel really, really uncomfortable for a while. But when I first took the job at the Journal in London, I was essentially a new role that had been created as this brand partnerships person. And I was supposed to support all the sales team and get them to sell brand partnerships instead of selling traditional media.
Right.
And they were kind of like...
Instead of selling the print ad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, now you have to like get all these salespeople to like include you on emails, calls, and client conversations. And I was like, okay, this is back to like me running around like and being a people pleaser / like asking people really nicely to like do something for me. But they were not really about it. They were also like, who are you and why do I need you and why are you going to sit in on my meetings? And like, I can do this without you.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the meeting with the producer in Italy. I was like, I figured out how I could help them and make them look really good and sort of come in to support them until I did my job so well. They were like, you can do all of this now because you're doing it so well. But I had to win them over. Like the first 6 months was winning them over. And some days I was like, I can't even do my job. I can't even do what I was hired for because these people are going to make it really, really hard for me to actually, come to Italy and present the thing to the luxury client and like get in the conversation and help them win this business that in the end is like going against their number and, is to everyone's benefit.
Yeah. How do you psych yourself up in that moment? You're getting ready for work and you're just like, fuck, this day ahead of me. Like, how do you psych yourself up?
I kind of detach a little bit, I think. I get into my head about a lot of things, but I don't get into my head about that. Like, I'm not sitting there, like, picturing how the meeting is going to go and, like, imagining all the worst things happening. I just have to know my shit really well. Like...
Preparation.
Yeah. I have to know my shit. I have to arrive and feel like I'm adding value and have something to... Like, I'm not wasting these people's 30 or 60 minutes. I can, like, hold my own in the situation.
So do you come in with like some pre-prepared notes, bullets, or is it more about how you have the conversation in the room? Like what does your prep look like?
My prep will actually be going back to the creative team. For example, if I'm pitching like a creative execution, I'll make sure I like sit with the creative director or the art director and like really dig into why this is a great idea and what is really valuable about it. And I'll like get excited myself, really excited about it, and not try to push them anything. Like, I just can't push something if I don't truly believe in it. So I'll end up like changing the concept or reworking it 5 times until I'm like, this is epic and they are going to love it. And it's contagious, right? Like if you can get yourself in that room and like really get them excited about it, then they can go get their CEO excited about it and budgets arrive.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting. That's like an interesting way to overcome self-doubt is like to reconnect with your excitement and passion about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't really hear that as often. It's usually like, think about the times that you've done this before and like think, you know, find the evidence in your life that you can do it and all those things. So I think that's really nice. Just try and get to the core of like why you're there and
and just always still kind of looking for that creativity and that excitement in our jobs that become kind of repetitive if you don't do that.
Yeah. How would you describe your relationship to risk?
I think I'm a really measured and calculated person.
Okay.
I think I do a lot of like observing and learning before I take any risks, so to speak.
Is that in your personal life too? Like when you're making these moves to different countries, are you really mapping that out?
Not mapping it out as much, but I'm making sure that I kind of do a pros and a cons list.
Yeah.
And I really have to believe in the pros. Like, it's the same thing of I have to really, like, believe in it. And part of it is a gut feeling, but part of it has to be, like, does this make sense? Am I forgetting something, like, crucial? Like, is moving to New York and being, you know, in that city, in that culture with those costs far away from my family and friends, is that going to, like, run out really quickly in 6 months and leave me, like, high and dry? I have to, like, kind of force myself to think about it more analytically. With like negotiations or like love or investment, I just kind of listen to my gut mostly. I'm kind of a little spontaneous when it comes to those things, but I need to like feel it, because if I feel it and I take the risk and I fuck it up, I don't really feel as...
Then you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of package that up and like use it for some learning, hopefully, the next time I get to it.
Okay, one of my like biggest questions for you is, so when we started talking about this podcast, and I was trying to convince you to come on, and you were so sweet and so into the idea, you're like, yes, I will, whatever podcast. I remember you didn't even like ask me what the podcast was about. You were like, yeah, I'll come on, like, of course.
Have a chat with you, of course.
Of course, which is so good. And then I was like, we should talk about what it's about first. Before you agree.
Like, sure, yeah, okay.
And then I'm like, it's about failure and just bouncing back from those failures, navigating, bouncing back. And, you know, you thought about it for a while, and then you kind of reached out to me, and your initial observation and response was like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to come on, because you said that you felt like perhaps your biggest failure was not having failed enough in your career, which was honestly one of the most relatable, like universal truths, relatable truths from high performing leaders, right? Where like this feeling of never enough, never good enough, like super high expectations. So I just wanted to kind of unpack that a little bit. Like, talk us through first what that feeling was when you kind of came to that realization.
Yeah. I thought about it long and hard over the course of 2 weeks.
I'm sure you did, yeah.
And I hated coming to you with that, because I felt like it was a cop-out. I felt like I was not being brutally honest with myself, or I was just blocking out whatever failures I had in my life that were actually formative. And then I think at some point this like ball girl thing came up, which I was like, that's stupid. I was 11. But I was like, I think it was sort of transformative in a way. I think with being calculated and my approach to risk and my kind of leadership style of more like kind of, you know, taking people along with me and having a lot of empathy, I've gotten to where I've gotten to with kind of like slow, measured steps. And a lot of it hasn't been really calculated. Some of it has happened to me with pure chance and places and work. But I do definitely envy those people who have like a big failure story and are like, you know.
Why do you envy them?
Because something drastic happened, sometimes outside of their control, but even better when it was their own decision to just drastically cut something that was happening and remove themselves out of a comfortable situation. So like people get stagnant. Like we talked about being stagnant in a city or not in a job, but you know, over time, something like the novelty wearing off. And that definitely happens in our careers as well. And getting too comfortable or enjoying that comfort too much is like a huge red flag, really, if you're trying to make progress and move on to the next step of your career.
It's so it's such an interesting conversation. I actually spoke to a girlfriend of mine here since I had dinner with her since I've been here, and I was telling her about your point of view, and she was like, that's me. She's like, that's also me. Like, it's so relatable. I think especially potentially for women, maybe. I have so many questions for you. Let's just like, the first one's coming to mind is like, what's stopping you? Why do you think that you haven't taken the risks?
I mean, when I think of failure in general, like when you asked the question and brought up failure, I was kind of like, oh no, I'm going to have to ask myself some really hard questions. Like, why don't I want to fail? Or why don't I want to take a risk big enough to fail? And then I was like, well, you don't really need to take a risk to fail. You can fail because you try too hard and you burn out, or you can fail because you know, you just you overestimated your capabilities and put yourself in a role that you completely weren't, you know, set out for. But also failure can be getting fired, or failure can be quitting the wrong job and then you know, like downgrading to a really shitty job. But there's always going to be something good that comes out of any of those situations. Like you're always going to, in the end, move up. And the opposite of failing for me is just learning. So you would like, just eventually the failure would be just another stepping stone towards whatever next path you're moving to. So why do I feel like I haven't, or what's stopping me from taking the risk? I mean, so many things, like being grateful for what I have and being comfortable in it, you know, not wanting to swap a bad thing for a worse one, or a good thing for a bad thing. I mean, for that matter. Just also like, you know, having moved and having put myself, I don't really have like a backup plan. Like you also sort of like go all in on your career and on your industry and on your relationships with your clients. And then you're like, okay, now I'm like 34 years old. I'm successful. But am I supposed to just sort of drop all of that and pivot fully and do something completely different? It's going to be really hard for me to wake up one morning and do that. But if there were layoffs in the company and they were like, we're so sorry to let you go, I'm sure I would figure it out and be fine and make that pivot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What are the positive outcomes from this approach? Because it's not necessarily, everything's like a spectrum, right? And there are some drawbacks, but there's also, you know, there's some positives to leaning into the type of style that you have that's probably a little bit more on the work side, conservative and risk averse, which is just fascinating because on your personal life, you're quite the opposite. But what are some of the positives you found from taking this approach? Well, how has it served you? How has it moved your career forward?
Yeah, I think I'm a very loyal person. So I think that like comes into play when I like, you know, if I'm valued at a company or I'm valued by people.
You stuck around.
I stick around. Yeah. And especially if I work for a place where people have been working for a really long time and like people, you know, and there's growth and I am appreciated. I find value in that. I think I'm not someone to like flake or bail if I've like made a commitment.
Yeah. Like how long have you been at the Journal for?
It's been 7 years. 4 in London and 3 in New York.
Yeah, and I can attest to this. I've tried to poach you and you stayed still.
Yeah, I stayed put.
You stayed still?
Yeah. And also, you know, you build, like I have a different respect for my clients now than I did at the beginning because just of more seniority and more expertise and more relevance. So I can take all those learnings with me elsewhere in the future. I guess I just always feel like there's still something to learn before I like pivot into a completely different direction. And I also don't want to make like a small jump sideways. I'd rather like take a big leap and like do something, you know, transformative at that point.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for being the steady person in an organization and a team, right? We need that leader. We need the leader that's super reliable, super consistent, that we know is almost like the calm in the chaos. We know that that person, no matter what, is going to be reliable.
Yeah.
Because there'll be other leaders that, you know, we need them because they are taking more risks and they're moving forward, but those people are more impulsive and less reliable, and you need both of those coming together.
Yeah, to kind of balance each other.
So I think it's an amazing conversation, because I don't want the takeaway from this podcast for everyone to be as well, that, like, you know, you have to be constantly failing all the time to be successful. It's like, I do believe the road to success is paved with failure, but that looks very different for everyone, and those failures look bigger or smaller or more frequent or less. Let's talk now about the drawbacks that you've experienced from that approach of, like, staying still a little bit more in your career. Like, do you feel like there's an opportunity cost? Are there things that you feel like that you haven't necessarily gone after, that you're like, ugh, I wonder what would have happened if I did?
Yeah, I think my career could have developed into, like, new and exciting places. If I had kind of made a shift earlier on in my career. Like, even what I mentioned to you about, like, do I take the luxury kind of print heavy path, or do I stay making Jack Daniel's documentaries and, like, a more risky industry, you know, having to put myself out there more. I think that's that kind of, I feel sometimes like I kind of reach, like, I'm walking on some kind of tightrope, and I'm, like, kind of teetering, but I'm, like, really good at standing on that tightrope by now, because I'm just sort of, like, stable and balanced. But maybe I got to that stability kind of too quick. Like, I feel like there's people who are my age who've, you know, in the 7 years that I've been at the Journal, have had, like, 4 different jobs and at 4 different companies, and they're just more, they've put themselves out there more, and they've made more connections and learned more about what they want and what they don't want. Like, you just kind of get, like, you start kind of treading water at some point. You get kind of, like, stuck in it.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line of, like, staying somewhere and being steady is good because you hone a craft.
Yeah.
And not many people hone a craft anymore, like, really hone a craft of what you're doing, really develop the relationships with your client, become indispensable to that company, but then not staying too long. Do you know what I mean? Not staying to the point where you're treading water.
Yeah.
How do people figure out, like, when that time is, when they've overstayed their welcome?
I always thought I would just know it. Like, I always kind of thought I would, like, intuitively just figure it out, or, like, some amazing, like, magical door would just open for me. And since it hasn't, or I've turned down doors that have opened for me, I'm kind of going to believe that there's, like, a reason for it. But I think people just...
What do you think the reason is?
That I'm still meant to learn something, or the pivot is down the path somewhere earlier. And if I had walked through one of the earlier doors, I would miss the really right one for me. Yeah. That's kind of how I explain it to myself, at least. And I think that's what people do. Maybe they just see that it's the right opportunity for them and it's just a perfect fit. Or they're just willing to just, like, see what happens. And you can always pivot back around. I think, like, any movement forward is good.
I think what you said is nice, though, around if you're still learning.
Yeah.
If you're still somewhere and you're learning. And, It was also in the conversation I had with the therapist yesterday, it was interesting because he was talking about, you know, when people get that kind of itchy feeling and wanting to leave a job because things aren't necessarily going to plan. Yeah. Often our instinct is to completely change course. Like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to get another job, or, like, my classic is just to, like, relocate countries entirely and like, clean slate for a hot second. But he had a great advice, which was, like, you don't always have to jump off the ship. Sometimes you just need to add some more life rafts. Sometimes it's about adding. You know, so if you're, you know, what else can you do to your life to make that situation more sustainable? And in this situation, it could also just be like, what else are you adding to that experience? Like, what else can you start to learn? And, you know, how can you grow where you are? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be growing through failure, although that is an incredible teacher, right? It's like we can also
it's like a shortcut
grow other ways. It's just different ways to grow.
Yeah.
It is so interesting to me, though, because we've got this story at the start, right, of you being like, I'm never going to do that to myself again. I'm always going to try to kind of try these new experiences. But yet it sounds like you're also saying you get a lot of value from, like, the steadiness of of your career? Like, how do you square those two?
Yeah, that's a good question, and maybe that's why I kind of came up with the conclusion of my failure is maybe not failing enough, right? Because I know the benefit of like a hard lesson is there, and you kind of have to put yourself out there to get that lesson. But
and you're almost still the little girl in the tennis court in a way.
Yeah.
Not necessarily wanting to do the tryouts.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But
maybe.
I think it's more about like specific, like that was a dream of mine and then I just avoided it.
Right.
I think as long as I like keep pursuing whatever dreams I have, be like creative or be, you know, career dreams. I was thinking about this as well, and like when we're in our 20s, we're like going through school and we're graduating and we're going to college and we're graduating from college, and like everything is quick and novel and you're constantly shifting and changing and being pushed through the next hoop of your life.
So true.
And then you hit
so
like
fast.
28 and you're like, okay, cool, now you're kind of like, you're now, you know, a manager or something in your career. And then you hit like 30 and they're like, you're promoted to director and now you're like a manager of a team, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I just got here super quick. Am I supposed to just sort of like, am I supposed to keep running through the next hoops? Because that's kind of what society is telling me to do. Or am I supposed to actually do what like society used to do once upon a time? Like my dad has been running a company for like 40 years.
Yeah.
Obviously it's different when you're running your own company, but like change is good, but like
not too much.
Be steady with the change and like pick the change very cautiously.
There's also a little bit, I think there's a layer here of, you touched on this a little bit before, but like being an immigrant, right? You're not in your home country, being a woman, you're at an incredibly iconic brand and you have an amazing role. And there is a little bit of like, okay, it's amazing that you found yourself here in this moment. And it's like, I can understand the thinking of kind of wanting to just like put your head down, you know what I mean? And just like focus on the goals ahead and like stay out of the noise, stay out of the politics, stay out of anything risky, and like kind of drive forward. And that makes sense, right? Because look how far you've come to get here, and even like, you know, your parents, all the things ahead that got you to this moment to kind of allow you to live the life that you live. Yeah.
And that is kind of my style, just bask in it.
Yeah.
But it will still, I think, being an ambitious person, there's always this voice inside of your head that's like, are you too cautious? Are you too kind? Are you too selfless? Are you too, you know...
What do you think the answer to those are?
Still? I think the answer might be yes, but I think I'm also like growing into realizing that now. I don't regret not jumping ship or making more drastic changes, but I think I'm like getting to a point now where I'm like, okay, I can sort of like, you know, evolve into like the next version of me.
Yeah, and it's like all those things are like such a balancing act, right? Like the kindness is such a strength, and that is such a strength of yours, the kindness, the humility, and it's just the classic conversation of making sure you don't overplay that strength, right? So use it to the point where it's working for you, but when it's overplayed, suddenly that turns into people pleasing. You know, people are starting to walk all over you, things like that. What advice would you have for someone else that's kind of listening to this and really relates to your story? Like my friend that I had dinner with, and it is like you guys are very similar in your approach, and she also has built a really successful career, but she really thrives. She really thrives in the roles where she can kind of click in, right? And like, click in and kind of be steady and be the calm in that. What advice would you have to someone like that who's listening, but is also having kind of the similar feelings of you of like, have I pushed myself far enough out of my comfort zone?
I think if you can't push yourself out of your comfort zone in one thing, there's something else you can push yourself out of your comfort zone in. So I think that's kind of what I've tried to do. So
with Frolic Log.
With Frolic Log or with, you know, learning new things or taking a course that you would have never done, or learning how to surf, or doing something that really kicks your ass somewhere in some department of your life so that you can get over that like horrible stage of like, I'm way in over my head, this is a nightmare, I'm gonna fail, and then seeing that you don't, and it just makes you feel like just stronger in whatever else that you're gonna do. I think we can't focus all of our energies on trying to like progress in one field if we aren't progressing kind of 360 holistically in our lives. And that could be progressing in your relationship or
Yeah.
your relationship with a sibling or a parent, whatever it is. Like, I try to find the knots in my life and just push past them, because I kind of can't really, like, I can't really think right if there's, like, obstacles anywhere in my life. So once
I
you
love
get
that
that,
advice.
then you just
Yeah.
kind of figure it out elsewhere.
And that's, I do feel like you're doing different shit all the time, you know, and you're traveling, even travel in and of itself is a constant
challenge.
Challenge, like beautiful and fun, but you're constantly, constantly challenging.
Yeah.
Last question before we head into quickfire. What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as the girl that just goes for it. I want to be remembered as the girl who just, like, follows her gut and fucking goes for it.
I love that.
I think that's what would be for me the greatest achievement. Some of it maybe I've already gone for it in some departments, but I think as a life that would be when
you
I
look
want.
back, that's what you want to. What are some steps that, you know, you're going to take this year to kind of move towards that?
That's a difficult question, Alana. I have some projects that I'm working on that are, like, you know, some personal dreams I have of, like, buying real estate or developing, like, you know, moving
your
forward.
hotel.
Developing a
Such a
hotel
good idea.
or doing something in another country, or maybe moving again, you know, or planning a move. So I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go take at least action and take next steps to do that until I see what happens from it.
I love it. You ready for quickfire?
Yeah.
What's the most overrated city you've ever been to?
Overrated.
Overrated.
I think Paris.
I agree. This is so funny. Completely agree.
It's just
why is it
so
overrated
hyped,
for you?
Because it's
so
just
hyped.
so hyped.
I mean, it's obviously Paris. It's fucking amazing, but I don't have that. Like deep emotional connection to Paris. Like I have that more with like Barcelona.
Yeah, and it just
New York
never
even.
did it for me. It just doesn't. It doesn't hit the spot for me.
It doesn't
at
hit
all.
the spot with me either.
Just kind of want to get out.
What
of there.
is it about it?
Maybe it's the experiences I've had there. I mean, I just stayed at, like, some shitty hotel, even though it was, like, really hard to book a room there. I just hate feeling like such a tourist in a city. I just hate feeling like a whole city's trying to sell me something.
Yeah, it's true. It feels very, obviously there's, you know, a lot of local spots, but it does feel very geared around tourism, even though they hate tourists there. So it's like...
I know, and they really make you feel it. But I also don't speak French.
I don't speak French
I don't
either.
have many close friends who were living there who I could, like, go and visit and experience it from that angle. So I think that's also kind of it for me. I just, like, had to be a tourist there. And
I mean, the flip side to that, what's the city you're most drawn to?
It's actually Rome.
It's Rome.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. You live there.
Yeah, I mean, I never got to live in Rome, but Rome to me is, like, the epitome of,
you lived in Milan,
glory.
sorry.
Yeah.
What is it about Rome that you love?
It's just, like, the Vespas.
Yeah.
And the like,
history,
hills.
the food.
And the city and the people and the chaos. And, like, I always had this
beautiful.
dream of, like, one day I can just, like, retire. I want to buy one of those, like, houses on the hill of Rome that overlooks the city. And it's just
so beautiful.
So epic. And there's rivalry between Paris and Rome. And for me, just, like, Rome wins it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also love Athens.
I've never been to Athens.
I've never been. I love Athens. Like, obviously everyone goes to the islands, and I love the islands, but I actually genuinely love that as a city. It's just, like, I don't know, grimy in a way that I like.
I have to go on my list.
What's the craziest thing you've done to close a deal?
I mean, not...
Without revealing any confidential Wall Street Journal information.
I mean, this is not crazy to close the deal, but I once was really nervous about a pitch, and I went out to lunch and I had 3 beers and I came back a little tipsy and I closed it.
That's the craziest thing. That's a great answer.
It was great.
Was it just to, like, kick the nerves off?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
and
it
just,
did
like,
the job.
Flow.
You were in a flow?
I was in flow.
Did the client notice?
No.
Amazing.
I was on a Zoom call. I'm not proud of it, but it was excellent. I haven't tested it again, but in times of need, I will do it.
That's so good. Who intimidates you and why?
I get intimidated by women who are extremely knowledgeable about like overall world issues. Men, whatever, they just like talk a lot and they don't get really emotional. But with women, you usually talk about like how you feel or what happened, and you analyze situations. And sometimes I meet women who do that, but then they can also like spout off like a really good analysis of like economics, politics, and like social issues. And I'm just like, fuck. Like I have so much to learn. I experienced that recently with a client. She's just absolutely amazing, and I was intimidated for sure.
Amazing. Worst career advice you've ever received?
I think I was told to lie on my resume. I think I had a manager who knew I was applying for a job, and they were like, just make it up. Just say you speak 5 languages. It was a guy.
Of course.
Just say you speak 5 languages. And I was like, but then I'll have to like get myself out of that. They're like, no one will ever ask. No one will actually ever know. It's all about the first impression you make. I hate that.
I hate it. But here's what I will say. I also think, I mean, I can't remember the exact stat, but it's a thing that like women don't apply for jobs unless they feel like, you know, whatever the stat is, unless they feel like they are incredibly, like they have ticked all the requirements, right? Like we look at a job and we're like, we need to be able to do all those things to apply. And men have a completely different view on it. Like
they're like 60%.
Yeah, they're like, we're good.
Score.
And I think we need to take something from that. Not lying, I think that's a different conversation, but that confidence of knowing that you can figure things out on the job and you don't need to have everything ahead of time. But obviously being honest about what those things are is good, because then they'll also develop you into these things.
Totally.
Did you do it?
No.
Also, 3 languages is so unbelievably impressive. Like, I don't speak anything other than English. Used to speak Japanese when I was younger. Cannot speak it anymore. I'll just drop that in to make myself sound
That's a good one.
Slightly more cultured.
That's very cool.
But 3 languages is already so impressive. Why does it have to be 5, for fuck's sake? How many languages did that person speak? 1. Cool. What's your pet peeve in the workplace?
Oh my God, I thought about this recently. I like had it. I was like, if someone ever asked me for my pet peeve, I'm going to have it. I hate it when people can't say, I don't know.
Oh, yes, me too. Hate that.
I cannot stand it. Just say you don't know. Yeah. Just say you'll ask. Just say anything. Yeah. Just say you don't know.
You don't know.
Do not bullshit an answer, get flustered, and clearly just make everybody uncomfortable. Just say you don't know.
It's such a strength to also, know what you don't know and be more curious about it. It's like the people, I always find, it's the people who kind of know less actually are usually the ones who are super confident in their answer because they don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And the people, who are more curious.
Who are like, I don't know enough on this subject. I'm actually going to research it.
Because they know enough to know they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say that.
That's a good one. What's a leadership trait you used to think was a weakness but now see as a strength?
I used to think being friends with who you manage was like a huge no-no.
Me too.
And because that's another kind of leadership advice you get from people.
And it's so bad. And terrible advice.
Maybe for some people, like, I think there's like a border to like everything. I'm not going to like go out with or maybe necessarily like be friends on Instagram or whatever with. But friendship to me is just like being able to have like a completely normal conversation or care about how the person is doing or like ask them questions that aren't pertinent to an agenda.
And there's some people whose strengths they've got like more strengths in relationship development. And so for those people especially, like that is a strength. That's going to be their superpower. Like they have to lean into that. Yeah. As long as there's boundaries, there's a whole conversation about creating those boundaries. But I completely agree. I also was given that advice early in my career that like you have to cut everyone out. You can't be friends with everyone, and it's terrible advice. This is a relationship game. This one's kind of funny. What's something that screams, I work in media, in the worst possible way?
Let's get drinks at 5 p.m. I think is what screams media the most. Like just kind of professionalizing socializing, like taking socializing and thinking it's like your like skill set. Like if you're social, you're probably in media because you're social. You don't have to prove to everybody how good you are at like ordering drinks at the bar. Like you're good.
Yeah. And just because you are socializing with people, it doesn't mean it's effective.
Yeah,
You're not.
totally.
You might not be doing yourself a favor.
Yeah.
What's one question you wish people asked you more often?
I wish people just asked me questions in general more often, I think, especially and they just didn't ask me about only what I do and where I work and...
What sort of questions do you wish they were?
Probably about my past, like just interested to know like where I come from and why I am the way I am. I mean, I always ask people like, you know, why do you tick that way? Do you have siblings? Like, what made you feel that way? Like, I love a good psychoanalysis of anyone. I kind of do really appreciate when people ask me that back. I think that's actually why I was so drawn to you, because you were just asking questions and then really listening to the answers and having like a real conversation, not just trying to analyze like what, you know, you can get out of me.
Yeah, and I mean, I've even learned so much about you today. I mean, that tennis story is so amazing. And no, it's going to stick with me. And I was even trying to think about like, what's my version of that? I want to kind of, it's prompted me to kind of reflect on my own childhood too and think if there's any kind of those pivotal moments. But it's also nice for you to kind of think back. It's such a visual anchor, right, for you of like if you are in a situation where you're like, oh, I don't know, you're going to be like,
nope,
make her proud.
Like, not make that young mistake
Agnes
again.
Proud. Yeah. Thank you so much. This is so
you.
nice. It's always so nice talking to you. Whenever we hang out, it's so soulful. It's just like it always is so energizing afterwards, you know, in the best possible way.
It was amazing. Thank you. You ask such good questions.
Is there anything you wish we went into?
No, I think we really covered it. And I'm just even grateful these last few weeks thinking about a lot of these things, how many things kind of came up for me, and I spoke about them with my partner, and I feel like I kind of made sense of some things inside my own head that maybe I was in denial about before. So I'm really
thanks for being so vulnerable about it. I do think...
I hope I was.
No, you are, and I think your perspective is it's just so relatable, and so many women are in your position, and I think it's going to be really helpful for people listening to hear your story, and especially if they're in creative environments surrounded by all these super dominant leadership styles, to know that like you can have the cautiousness and the steadiness in your style, and that can be a strength. And look at the incredible career you have built playing that game. It's great. It's inspiring.
Thank you, Lana.
Happy Friday. I hope the Bachelorette goes well.
I hope so too.
Are you going to do a frolic log about the tents?
No.
Not the vibe.
No, it doesn't fit.
Not the vibe.
It doesn't.
Okay, Maddie's coming in. Hi, Mads. How'd we go? If you liked this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, please drop a comment and let me know what resonated with you. I'd love to hear your take. And as always, I'd be so unbelievably grateful if you could share your favorite episode with a friend. It really is the only way an independent podcast like this can be discovered.